today's show, a review of the Gamepod GT2 Evo Pro.
Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Sean Cole with my good buddy
Darren Ganji.
And many of you out there might remember this rig from being on our set for, gosh, over 2 years.
Long time.
And I guess I should start off for thanking Gamepod for being a sponsor of the show from, gosh, 2009 all the way through 2011. And this is a very long-awaited review here.
And that's right. And one of the reasons why we waited so long was during the 2 years that they were the sponsor and it was on the show, they were continually sending us upgraded parts, and they please don't review it yet. We're waiting to finalize it, and they've been upgrading it as they've gone, and so that's part of the reason. And we're still waiting on parts. They haven't been a sponsor for over 6 months now, but they're supposed to send us the Monaco seat, which is a lot more affordable, and I think there was some other new changes that they had made. So as soon as we get those pieces, we'll do a revisit on This Week Inside Sim Racing to show you all about those, and probably going to change the score a little bit, but for now, here is the Gamepod GT2 Evo Pro. And what makes it the Evo Pro is the FIA approved GT style carbon seat. So
very impressive.
Available in red, blue, or black.
And then the frame is made from laser cut steel that comes in either red, blue, or black as well. The frame is bolted together and creates a solid base, including adjustable feet for uneven floors. The seat attaches to brackets and has 2 different angles available, and it can be adjusted forward and back via seat sliders.
The foot base, or the pedal base, is drilled for both Fanatec and Logitech pedals. And then if you want to do Thrustmaster, actually by now they may have drilled them out, already. But you can also use the optional pedal riser or pedal rake attachment that we have here that's also part of the Evo Pro package. The wheel deck begins at the base and comes up with basically 2 arms that meet at the wheel deck. And those 2 arms come up from the sides of the front of the rig and angle slightly towards the driver. Within these arms are telescoping extensions that will allow for plenty of height adjustment for the wheel deck.
As it extends upward, it does move closer to the driver. The wheel deck is drilled to be used with Thrustmaster, Logitech, and Fanatec wheels. There are 2 different shifter mounts styles available, one for the Logitech and Thrustmaster shifters, and a different one for Fanatec shifters. They also make seat-mounted shift adapters as well.
Matter of fact, Gamepod makes just about every accessory you can think of for this thing. From mouse trays, keyboard holders, shifter mounts, pedal risers, drink holders, monitor mounts, and more. You can also get it with the FIA approved seat that we have here in carbon or standard, or the Monaco seat. The version of the Gamepod that we have sitting here goes for $2,000, and $1,000 of it is because of this carbon fiber seat.
Yeah, the base model is a bit more affordable at $700. That's without all the bells and whistles and with that Monaco seat. You can also get the frame without a seat for only $430. All these prices do not include shipping and will vary greatly depending on where you are located. These rigs are manufactured in the UK and shipped from there as well.
So as you can see, lots of options here, from the $430 base up to the $2,000 rig you see here, and everything in between. So you could start with the base, get your own seat if you wanted, and add any of the options that you want, because it's an a la carte menu there at their site. Also, besides all the accessories, lots of options in regards to colors. So you can do the red, blue, or black. Well, not lots, but 3, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of rigs come with different options of colors.
No, or even an embroidered seat.
That's another option you can get, which this one isn't the embroidered seat. I don't know if you remember, you may have remembered the older version that we had Jessica's name on it. Jessica took that home. It's now at her house. So, all right, so that's all the statistics on the GT2 and the Evo Pro. And when we come back, we're going to tell you our opinions on it, pros, cons, rev scale, and some closing thoughts.
Does a real race car have a center post? Of course not, and neither should your race rig. The Rseat Evo V3 with its unique design has no center post. The Rseat Evo replicates what you would be accustomed to in your daily driver or something you may take to the track. It can accommodate drivers from 4'11" up to over 6'6" tall and is pre-drilled for all of the major wheel manufacturers on the market today. When it comes to performance, look no further than the Rseat Evo V3. Check out the Rseat Evo and other sim racing equipment by heading to www.rseat.net.
Welcome back to our review of the Gamepod GT2 Evo Pro. I'm Sean Cole with Darren Ganji, and now we're going to get right into the pros and cons, and we're going to start things off with the cons, and I'm going to start things off with the wheel deck wobble. You've got
the biggest con.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit of play left and right, and you know, we put a lot of miles on ours, and I think it's even loosened up some over time.
It did, yeah, and it was a little bit tighter at the beginning, but that is the biggest flaw in this rig, is the side-to-side wobble, and I think that diamond plate is flimsy.
Yes.
I think it's just a piece of stamped metal, you know, just that's solid, is gonna help the rigidity of the rig there.
Right.
And then I think the other thing that they need to do is, you know, we talk about those two posts coming up. You know, there needs to be two more posts coming down right about where the wheel deck sits, to add some more stability. And so I think that is pretty much the biggest con of this rig. I mean, we have a few more we're gonna tell you about, but
yeah.
And I gotta say too, one thing about that con, as much as we'll show you, as much as we can make this thing move back and forth, under normal driving conditions, it doesn't really affect the driving.
Yeah.
You know, we put thousands and thousands of miles on this thing running if you may have seen our Gran Turismo review, we went 98% of Gran Turismo and all of it was running this rig.
Yeah, and everyone we know has turned many miles in this rig.
Yep.
The other thing for me is that 90% of that wobble is left to right. There is very little front to back or up down wobble, and that does at least keep it in one direction, and that kind of helps that, what you were talking about, how it really just doesn't affect you that much when you're racing.
And I would do hardcore racing in it. We did mostly console stuff, but we have some friends that did some serious hardcore stuff. Daytona 500s in this rig.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, get past that wobble, and everything else for the most part is quality. But again, we have a few more cons. Next con is the pedal deck. And I think this goes back to the diamond plate that we have just being kind of flimsy, and without the rake or the pedal riser that we have, or the pedal rake riser, whatever you want to call it, there's not as much flex because the pedals will sit pretty much flat there. But add that pedal riser and all that weight in it, and it feels like it's honestly gonna rip the bolts out of the diamond plate.
You're right there.
So that's another con. Next con is the upgraded seat. The FI GT seat may be comfortable and great for racing in a real car, but a lot of people didn't like this seat because of the size. You almost got lost in it.
Yeah.
Me being 6'4", it didn't bother me as much.
Right.
But like Tommy used to be here, he didn't like it.
I could disappear in this rig. I'd be driving, no one would even know.
But our friend Tom Merton, about the same height as you, maybe a little bit taller.
He's a little bigger than I am.
But he loved getting lost in this rig. So, you know, for the price, $1,000 for a seat, some complete rigs are less than the cost of this seat. So, unless you're super hardcore, you know, get the $760 version.
I agree. And that really takes us to the next con, which is that the rig is rather expensive, and a lot of it due to that seat cost. But I will say this, the rig is made in the UK, so some of that expense comes from it being built in a place that I like hearing things are built from. It's not coming out of China, in other words.
No offense to Chinese, but...
No, but I appreciate things built in the UK, let's just say.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say it's a little bit more on the hand-built side.
Exactly. And then the last con we kind of already mentioned, and that's the wheel deck. It's not adjustable, and it kind of does come up with height, so that's
it's adjustable this way.
Right.
But it's not, there's no tilt.
Exactly.
There's no angle adjustment, so you're limited there.
Exactly.
And that's all for the cons. And that's gonna take us to the pros, and starting with all the different options you can get. Yes, this is the $2,000, like Sean said, the flagship model. But like Sean also said, you can start with the base at $430. You can then add your own seat, or get the Monaco version that's just a little over a little under $700. We're talking US prices too. And then it's gonna vary depending on where you're located. If you're in the UK, shipping prices are gonna be very affordable.
Sure.
In the US, I think they have a 40% off deal, as a matter of fact, at their site right now for US shipping, so that helps a little bit, but
it's gonna be costly.
Still gonna add, you know, a few $100 maybe from the UK to the US. So yeah, prices will vary depending on the shipping. But again, one of the pros, different options.
Sure.
You can go from the 430 base up to the $2,000 flagship.
Yeah, it's kind of modular even.
Yeah.
Another pro, or one of my favorite things about the Gamepod is, it's a great looking rig.
It is.
We've had 2 of them now. They're both great looking rigs. Everybody who comes in is impressed by the look of the rig. Another pro is that it's very adjustable. So again, I've driven it and been relatively comfortable, except for what we talked about in the seat. Darren's driven it and been very comfortable. We've had big guys drive it. Everybody's really been able to adapt to this rig and have the rig adapt to them, more importantly.
Yeah, we did driver swap when we were doing that whole Gran Turismo run through. We did little mini Enduros where we were swapping out and just slide the seat back and forth, and myself, Sean, and Tommy were all able to run that, no problem.
Yeah. Another pro is that the wheel deck is pre-drilled and ready to go for Thrustmaster, Fanatec, Logitech. I mean, pretty much anything you can imagine. It's ready and really ready to be pre-mounted onto there.
You can even get an adapter for the old Xbox 360 wheel to work with it too. So yeah, that's another one of the pros. Some more pros, many options available like we'd mentioned a few times. You know, besides color options, you get, you know, mouse holders, keyboard holders, drink holders, shifter mounts, monitor mounts, PlayStation holders. They even had an PlayStation Eye mount for a while that that was available. So, and you know, you can get mounts that go down on the seat, up on the wheel deck.
Yeah.
I'd recommend the seat mounted ones because the wheel deck does have that wobble. I would not put the drink holder up on the wheel deck.
No, I'm with you. And the mouse
Especially
holder.
with Sean the Saw Cole driving.
Well, and I love having the mouse tray there, or mouse plate, but same thing. If you do a lot of wobbling, it's going to probably...
It's going to go flying.
Yeah.
Last pro is you can also plumb your wires through the uprights and lots of other places to hide wires. Also, butt kicker works great on it. That's another pro with the optional mount that they have. So that's about going to wrap up pros, cons, and everything about this rig, and it's time for the rev scale.
Rev scale. How do you want to handle this?
Well, it's a 7 on the rev scale, and you know, lose that wheel deck wobble. This version. And
yes, as we see it here.
Yeah, this is as tested. And the 2 biggest reasons why is because $2,000 is a lot for a rig, so that brings it down a bit. And with that much wheel deck wobble, you know, it is what it is. Other than that, you know, we're thinking the more affordable seat, lose the wheel deck wobble, and this thing's near a 10.
You took the words right out of my mouth right there, and it comes down to that. If this was the less expensive model, it's a phenomenal rig. It's just that price is just really hurting this variation. And then admittedly, I'm taking a full point off in my mind just for the amount of wobble, but that's something that many rigs have been hit with that same problem. So, you know, really that cost factor and getting this in that more trimmed down version would take me right up to a 9 or 10 as well.
Yep. And I think those were pretty much your closing thoughts, would you say?
Yeah.
A few more to add, and we pretty much talked about it. We put more mileage than any other rig we've tested.
Yeah.
As far as one that we were going to review. I mean, our own personal rigs we've put more mileage on, but those are custom and, right now I'm running an Rseat, so I'm actually putting a lot of miles on that, and so is Sean. But we put a ton of miles on this thing. All of us tested it. A lot of our friends tested it. We had, open houses where people got to drive in it. So, man, I'd say we had 20 different people drive this rig.
Yeah.
So, that being considered, that Tom Merton guy that we talked about, he loves this rig, and that's the only rig he wants.
Yeah.
So it could be for you, it might not be. Personally, I would need those changes to be my full-time rig.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, when I look at this, if I could knock the expense factor out of this, and I could do a little reinforcement of that wheel deck on my own, I would make this my rig in a heartbeat. I mean, this is the model they sent us, so we have to hit it for expense. For having a chair that's a little less comfortable, perhaps, and certainly more expensive. But if I could have changed those things, did a little reinforcing, again, I would proudly make this my rig.
I would too. So that's going to wrap it up for our Gamepod GT2 Evo Pro review. And again, when Ash at Gamepod sends us the Monaco seat, which supposedly he's going to, and I believe some upgraded parts. I think we're going to get the standard steel base versus the diamond plate, and I think they had made some other adjustments. I think the wheel deck might be adjustable now too. So when he does send those to us, again, we'll do an update on this week Inside Sim Racing. But for now, check out our sim rig section at our site, InsideSimRacing.tv, and we have all the sim rigs we've ever reviewed there, including this one, and lots of other great stuff at our site. And if you're interested in getting a GamePod, you can go to gamepod.co.uk and tell them that myself or Sean sent you. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Inside Sim Racing. For Sean Cole, that's going to wrap things up. I'm Darren Ganji for Inside Sim Racing. We'll see you next time.